And welcome to the celebrated nightly news of Calaveras County. My name is John.
And I'm Kim.
And I want to apologize. If you a few seconds ago I hit the wrong button. I hit stop instead of start.
Yes, you did. It's been a long day.
It has.
What are you doing, John?
And
the show's not over yet. We haven't even started. Yet.
So, and
here we are.
Just a little thing is one of the things on this is we run this show and sometimes without a net.
Yes.
It's just the two of us.
It's just the two of us. It's basically a web show that we produce ourselves that is broadcast also on cable, correct?
That is true.
There you go.
And anyway, today has been a busy day news-wise in the county.
Yes, it has.
And in some ways, I want to say this, in some ways it's been a very, very sad day as well, at least for me. Because if you follow events in the county, if you follow county government, this is something that you knew was coming, but you really didn't want to see it come out this way.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm making any sense.
Are you referring to the grand jury report?
The grand jury report and also the Board of Supervisors meeting and how it developed.
In case the viewers don't know, we received the grand jury report today.
Yeah.
It was made available to the public July 1st.
Yes.
So we received a copy of that today. Do you want to read some of that to our viewers?
Sure. And the grand jury report, basically, this is their final report for this sitting session, and they had some very sharp commentary on some county department heads and otherwise, and
without going into, because this is one of the things you can read yourself.
Exactly.
And it's really, in some ways, I almost feel like it's not really news for us to say. There was the Calaveras County audit. There was investigation of the Community Development Agency. This is in the grand jury report. Things on E. coli contamination and recommendations for the McCullough River. The Calaveras County audit report, the Calaveras Animal Shelter Facility, and they respond to complaints.
Murphy Sanitary
the
District.
Murphy Sanitary District,
Vallecito
Conservation Camp, and the Calaveras County Jail. And how these grand juries, they receive complaints and then they choose on which ones that they deem for prioritize to investigate for those types of things. And one of the things is the one, and for lack of better terms, is there's been a lot of controversy both within county government and outside of it about the Community Development Agency.
This is what I'll read right from the grand jury report. It says, reason for they had an investigation of the Community Development Agency. Reason for investigation was, as a result of multiple complaints from various sources, the grand jury investigated the Community Development Agency, which is also known as the CDA.
Right.
The following people were interviewed: all current members and one former member of the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors, current interim and past county administrative officers, numerous department heads including the director of the CDA, current employees of various county departments. The grand jury reviewed numerous documents including consultants' reports, the CDA budget and financial records, job descriptions, organization charts, Calaveras County Personnel Ordinance, and the Memorandum of the Understanding between the County of Calaveras and the Service Employees International Union. The grand jury also reviewed the county's hiring practices, including the process of background checks, as well as attended Board of Supervisors and community town hall meetings. The results of the investigation were: number 1, the background check. The Board of Supervisors, when hiring the Community Development Director, who is known as Stephanie Moreno, failed to follow standard hiring procedures by neglecting to insist that the candidate's qualifications and past work experience be verified and thoroughly checked. Number 2, reporting relationship. The Board of Supervisors failed to clearly define the reporting relationship of the position and allowed the director to circumvent the established line of supervision. The director reported directly to the Board of Supervisors with disregard for the published county organization chart. Number 3, accountability. After establishing the director's direct reporting relationship to the Board of Supervisors failed to hold the director accountable and neglected to prepare any performance evaluations. Number 4, job qualifications. The director, when hired by the county, lacked the technical skills and sufficient related experience to successfully perform the job. The Board of Supervisors based their hiring decision on the applicant's self-reported strong management experience. However, the grand jury in the course of this investigation could not substantiate many of the claims made on the director's resume and application. And they have some recommendations here. Would you like to read those?
Sure. And also I want to say that stuff like this is hard. Mm-hmm. Stuff like this is hard in a small county because as a small county, likelihood that we know all of the people, mm-hmm. most of the cases, that, especially specifically in this instance that we're talking about, this mm-hmm. is something where this is it's news. We're reporting this as news. This is not something that to me, this is painful to do this tonight. This is something
hard
to where
because this is still a human being that we're talking about.
Well, and this obviously this is the directors. The department heads have opportunities to respond, opportunities to respond, mm-hmm. and this is what goes back to what we'll talk about next with events at the actual Board of Supervisors meeting today. Mm-hmm. Also, this is the recommendations from the grand jury. The Board of Supervisors hire department heads only after background checks and thorough verification of prior work experience are completed by Human Resources Department. The Board of Supervisors publicly restore the reporting relationship of the director of the director to the county administrative office. And the BOS.
Now what does that mean?
Okay, this is something. This is something
I heard that them discussing in the meeting today. What is that?
Correct. One of the things that's happened that over the course of the last couple years. Increasingly, the department heads have gone around the CAO's office, especially when it was an interim position, went around the CAO's office and went directly to the Board of Supervisors.
Oh, they did, okay.
Because department heads serve at the behest of the Board of Supervisors and not strictly at the CAO. So
now, was it just the one department head that did this, or there has been numerous complaints of others?
I believe there were others that went around as well, but specifically, and one of the things I know this is one of the reasons the former CAO, Tom Mitchell, mm-hmm. left.
Yes.
One of the reasons he left, and we had numerous discussions with him on it, is that when the department heads are routinely allowed, and in some ways there's different subtle forms of county government, and in the Calaveras County form of government, the department heads are allowed and serve at the behest of the board. Mm-hmm. So the CAO does not have direct firing authority, and I'm sure people will correct me if I'm wrong, but especially department heads. But it was implied in certain things where the board can have matters go through the CAO's office, and in some ways, I think it also protects the board because if they have a little bit of distance between.
What they're saying is they would prefer that the department heads go through the CAO, then the CAO goes to the board. Correct.
Correct.
Okay, and that wasn't happening. They were there going directly to around the CAO to the Board of Supervisors.
And in some measure, that's always happened.
Yes,
but
okay.
I think it is that system. And this is kind of an open thing for I don't think it's open to even argument that hasn't happened to any significant degree in quite a while.
All right.
And also that's something that I think the grand jury recommended, and that the Board of Supervisors and the director adhere to the reporting relationships as defined by the county organization chart. And the CAO develop a plan to prepare annual performance evaluations on all department heads. The director enroll and also do some certified planning responses and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
In some ways,
you going to read that or not? You want to go on with this, or you want to?
Well, I mean, we can move on. There's other stuff here as far as budgetary issues, internal audits, other issues that they found within the department that I think I don't think it bears repeating. They can dig into it and read it because the information is readily available. We have it on our site. It's on the county site. It's on numerous other press outlets as well. Mm-hmm. It's easy to find if you want to look into the specifics. So just come out and say that the big thing in the grand jury report, or the major, the explosive thing in the grand jury report was the critique of the Community Development Agency. And I think, and this also led to some of the events at the Board of Supervisors meeting. Now, typically, and one would hope, is there are disagreements on a board, as natural, or in some ways disagreements should be welcomed, because if everybody had agreed, then why do they need 5 members?
Exactly,
And sometimes there is great value in debate on opposite ends of the political spectrum and also different ideas, because I think on the course of most ideas, the best course is the middle, but sometimes I think it takes the extremes to define the middle. Today, it basically broke down into just a really ugly thing, at least for me. I mean, some of the things were said, what things needed to be said, but I hate to see when it breaks down the way it did. And I think there was...
Are you going to show some of that?
Sure. Frustration built up on the part of supervisors, and basically what happened is there was public comments to where members of the public weighed in on the grand jury report and other things. The first part, the rest of the meeting was taken up by discussion of the county's bonds that will be, some investment vehicles and things like that, and then it's on the last part
where Tom Tran had called for a closed session.
Right. It was called for closed sessions to discuss some of the things on the grand jury report. And some of this will probably have to...
Those opposed? It passes on a 5-0 vote. This brings us to board matters, review of correspondence, reports, and various matters of concern.
And this is typically a very dry and dull portion of these meetings. Typically tells what meetings they're going to. And that's
Here
we go.
Number one is I will not be in attendance at the COG meeting tomorrow evening.
Okay.
I'm not quite certain, Cheryl, who my alternate is, but check. Maybe you check and let them know. I will not be in attendance. Secondly, I would like to have the board schedule a closed session to discuss the performance evaluation of the community development director with possible action. I would appreciate it if the board would give direction to the CAO to do that so that we might have a discussion.
And that basically goes where he's calling for a closed session to talk about some of the grand jury issues and things like that, which is a fairly... and then it's probably too long to actually play the whole clip in here, but then it rapidly spirals out of control, so to speak.
Vote, right? 2-2 vote.
Yeah, and
Marita and Tom agree to having the closed session because Marita states that they've always done that before when they are.
And it looks like they may have something
talking about department heads.
It looks like they may schedule something for the 21st or 22nd of July, so it'll be a ways out.
So there were 3 of them that did not want to have.
Yeah, but then it goes on, and basically, no, it's just saying it's this section. If you're looking at the board meeting is about an hour and 45 minutes long. If you're following the Board of Supervisors and you care to watch the stuff, it is about that section in.
Yes, it is.
And it's if you wonder why, because if you don't follow politics, local politics closely, you probably think, what does this all matter? What is this? It's in some of this, the angst on this issue is driven somewhat by the national recession we're in. Some of it, where a lot of people where it's anyway.
Well,
if you care
one of the
about
things
it,
that I found was interesting is that they're saying that there was mismanagement of county funds, where they were saying numerous outside consultants have been hired to work that could be done by CDA employees. The position of chief building official is still filled by a Valley Cooper consultant, and a large portion of the plan. Well, this is when the report was done.
right?
A large portion of the plan checking service is still performed by outside contractors. Due to the director's decisions, the CDA has spent nearly $2 million on consulting fees. That's over now, but they're saying basically those jobs could have been done in-house versus hiring outsiders to do the job.
It's just, they wanted a lot of stuff on
the budget.
on the department.
The county is currently faced with the CDA projected deficit of nearly $900,000 for fiscal year 2007-2008, the largest planning and building department deficit in many years. This deficit is not entirely due to national decline of the housing market.
All right, and just
I found that interesting.
correct. And one of the and if you don't follow local politics closely,
which I never did until I started doing the news, but now I'm really interested in this stuff.
But this is one of the things that explains if you heard about the controversial Sheriff's Department Association endorsement of the Trinitas project, and that which to a lot of people seemed to come out of left field. It may not make a lot of sense for a sheriff's union, employee to endorse a private project outside of the scope. And from talking with, and that led off a firestorm, and most people anticipated that the grand jury report would set off another one, which it has. In some ways, a lot of the events of the last couple of weeks have been fairly predictable. I mean, because they kind of were set in motion. They were kind of set in motion, and there's more to follow.
We're waiting for the Valley Cooper report. Correct?
We don't anticipate we don't anticipate there being any of the fireworks that there were in something like the grand jury report. But what they're looking at, and lots of times you're following this, they always say follow the money. Okay. And the money is the county's budget is severely upside down, and it will probably only get worse next year. And departments like the Sheriff's Department, the Deputy Sheriff's Association are looking at their contracts and the money to pay for their employment, and also raises and benefits going out when they need to renegotiate contracts. And what they see is some of the stuff as, and it's the pointing finger stuff, and they are seeing is that they don't want to see one department that is one of the only revenue generating departments in the county have a severe impact on the county's fiscal future. So if people are, this isn't really editorial, this is just talking about, so if you're not following county politics, this stuff is predictable. I mean, stuff has been set in motion now. Where it will stop, nobody really knows as of yet. So they're looking at a meeting possibly on the 22nd.
A closed session?
On this one, but we have also heard... Did they come to that
agreement? I didn't hear that part.
But also, we've also heard that you will probably have the gallery packed the next few weeks on this subject. This may be the start of it, but you're going to hear something on this probably almost every day for the next few weeks. So anyway, other stuff that was going on in the county.
We had a accident day that closed Highway 49.
Yes, Highway 49 was closed for about an hour and a half today over in the Tuttletown area. There was 6. What was initially reported as multiple minor injuries, as many as 6. One of the things is one of the subjects in the vehicles took off from the scene, so they had to trace that down, different things like that. Also, we attended one of the reasons we want to move our broadcast to strictly a 10 o'clock was also we went to the Angels Camp City Council meeting, and also it was a combined planning and city council meeting. The first part of it was planning where they had the CDBG block grants. Now, if you followed county and city governments, these are exciting discussions for the CDBG, the Community Development Block Grants.
I actually had to look that up. I didn't know what that stood for, so I had to go online and say, okay, what does that mean?
Those we'll go through, but a couple things that stuck out in the meeting that we thought were kind of interesting is that the Altaville School, the red Altaville School, the pretty building that you pass along Highway 49, they're kind of across from Middleton's, is now back under the bailiwick of the city. The City of Angels Camp, and they were presented that back to by the Historical Association. So that's back from the city, and so that way they can be. I think there should be all kinds of plants. It's a beautiful building.
It is.
Beautiful building.
What are they going to do with it?
Don't really know whether it will stay a museum portion or there's even suggestions. Back Mary Kelly even had a suggestion that turn that into some type of a meeting room, because now they're holding meetings at the firehouse.
Yes, that would actually be a nice place.
And we stopped by there after the meeting, and there's one partition wall that they actually put up in the museum that doesn't have any functional purpose. If they moved out, they'd have as much room as the firehouse. So the city may have a new meeting spot.
Okay, so anything else stick out tonight? Tonight's meeting?
Yeah, let's see. Where are my notes? Let's see. Where are all my notes?
I mean, you just don't remember. You just got back.
I closed them. I closed my notes because I didn't want to impact.
I will talk about the COG meeting that's going on tomorrow night. Maybe you can find your notes.
I can't open them.
Okay, you don't remember.
I may interrupt the.
Can you not remember? Weren't you paying
Yeah,
attention?
you go on that. I'll remember. I'll scratch
The
my
COG
feeble
is
mind.
meeting tomorrow night. Something kind of exciting is going on with the COG. The Arnold Mobility Plan is being adopted by the COG on July 2nd, tomorrow evening, by Tyler Somerset. The Arnold Mobility Plan being adopted by the Calaveras Council of Governments on Wednesday, July 2nd at 6:30 p.m. As you all know, this has been a year-long process of looking at the State Route 4 corridor through Arnold. We have 31 potential projects listed in the document and look forward to taking the next step. Next steps include submitting the document to the Planning Commission for review and the recommendation to the Board of Supervisors for adoption and inclusion in the environmental analysis for the general plan update. So they will be meeting tomorrow evening at 6:30 p.m. at the San Andreas, the Board of Supervisors chambers. And they will also be having a presentation by Stantec Consultants. And this is on the Arnold Rural Livable Mobility Plan.
There we go. You thought CDBG
Yes.
log grants were
Yes, they
tough.
will also be reviewing an adoption of the 0809 Unmet Transit Needs Findings Report and a contract summary approving RBF consulting contract for the Wagon Trail Realignment Project.
Right.
Yes.
And that, if you're like Wagon Trail Realignment Project, that's straightening out the kinks between Angels and Copper. That's the long
That would actually
process.
be really nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, I guess a little bit on the Angels Camp City Council
Yes.
meeting.
Do you remember
my
now?
feeble mind
Okay,
remembered
here
a
we
few
go.
more things. All right. One was they approved a $142,000 project for redoing lighting in downtown. So some of the historical lighting district, this will be for
Good.
PG&E to redo some of the lighting. They'll also improve the lighting at Utica Park.
Okay.
And there was also the Council of Cities was there doing a presentation on as well. And one of the things that Tim Shearer talked about towards the end was progress. Councilman Lynch had questions on progress of the Utica Hotel project.
Okay.
And the city administrator, Tim Shearer, said that he had talked to Rudy Ortega yesterday, I believe, who was the architect and proposed buyer. And they were talking specifically, because one of the things that came out earlier was that using the parking lot that is right at the corner of 4 and 49 to the right, putting a parking structure there.
By the thrift store there, right?
Correct. What has come out since then is fiscally that's probably not going to work.
Okay.
That was one of the things where there was probably just cost prohibitive. Other alternatives are looking at parking is maybe approaching the people on the courtyard, what they call that, and this is be kind of on the back side of the hotel over there. If you go to the movies in downtown Angels, you go down that side street behind. There's that parking lot back there. One of the entrances is if they used valet parking and then they did tight double parked, just packed them in instead of having a flow through lot.
Okay.
Then they can have
valet
valet parking
in Angels Camp.
Angels
That would be
Camp.
nice,
They could
wouldn't
have very valet.
Yes.
They could have valet parking there. The other is they're also. He is actively seeking for a contractor, a management company, to actually run the hotel.
Okay.
And that was it. That's some of the big things. There's a couple more, and there's other issues as well. There was they had something on the Greenhorn Creek lighting district and some of the other things like that. But I guess those are of broader appeal.
Okay.
The schoolhouse is back. They spent money on lights.
Okay.
And the Utica Hotel kind of going forward.
Good. Now, I wanted to give a quick update on the North Mountain Fire update. It is now at 2,750 acres. That was as of this morning. But good news is it's 50% contained, which is great news, actually, I believe. This is the one that was started on June 21st in the Stanislaus National Forest. Right now they have 12 hand crews, 32 engines, 2 dozers, 7 water tenders, 3 helicopters, air tankers on order. Personnel assigned, 514, and they've had 11 minor injuries.
And a little bit last night that we talked about was the Cabbage Patch fire. This was
small one?
Yeah, they ended up getting this one contained at about 2 acres up in the Cabbage Patch area off of Highway 4. They should have had. We talked to Pat Conard earlier today, and they should have had full control sometime today. With crews will probably still be on hand. through tomorrow.
Okay.
And one little thing was a nice thing is last few seconds here is we got a nice press release from Golden State Cellular.
Oh, we did.
And this is pretty cool. Is they put up, and this ties into your fire coverage down there, is they put up a temporary cell site at the camp, at the main headquarters and camp where they're fighting these fires, to improve coverage for the firefighters and communication. Mm-hmm. And it's a pretty cool thing. Drew Meadow. Pretty cool thing.
Cell on wheels. It's called COW.
And we thank you very much for stopping by.
You.
Hopefully it wasn't fun news tonight, but it was news.
It was news.
And we'll see you tomorrow night.
You.
Good night.
Good night.